get to be a part of the supernatural, that you get to be a part of advancing the kingdom in a way that you never, ever thought you deserved or would ever be a part of.
This is the path I have you on. And like Clint said, we are just asking God to show us each day what is the next step that you are asking of us and trying to be obedient in that.
I think there can be lots of different kinds of community. You know, some people find it in writers and directors, some maybe find it in actors. I think it's what I'm talking about is just finding a team of people that you can be inspired by, that can push you, that can challenge you, that can support you when you're down. I think that's really important. I think you get it through community. I think you get it through the support of other people, and you get it through you supporting other people as well.
What tables have God called you to say, hey, go sit over there with that family? The real power of the church is when we're intentional about going to tables that other people don't go to.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing? Awesome. Well, welcome to Kensington. If this is your first time, my name is Hayden. I am our worship arts director around here.
Yes, good morning. Welcome. My name is Jill Cascone, and I'm our campus director here for Clarkston campus.
Yeah, so as you guys just saw in that video, we are having our Move Out gathering coming up February 22nd and 23rd. And
That's
so
this week. That's Friday.
Today is the 17th, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this weekend is February 22nd and 23rd. We have our Move Out gathering, and that will be at our Troy location. And so this is just really an awesome opportunity for us to get together. And really, whether you believe it or not, you have influence. You're a leader. And so all of us have these spheres of influence that we are a part of. And really, this is an opportunity for us to get together and really learn how to grow in our leadership within those spheres of influence. And so you really don't want to miss this. Us as a staff are going to be there, and it's going to be an awesome time. So you can go to kensingtonchurch.org/moveout and sign up there.
Yeah. Hey, so the next thing, who went to the Fed for the date night? Yes, it was so good. It was so good. If you missed it, we're actually doing another one on Monday, March 18th. So what a wonderful partnership. We have Sarah and James Schneider, who are actually a part of our campus here, who are the owners of the Fed, and they graciously are opening up their doors twice, not once, but twice for us.
Twice, that's awesome.
For us to have date night with Dave and Ann Wilson. It was amazing, you guys. It was so good.
So good.
So with that, I have a question for you gentlemen, okay? How many of you took your wives or your girlfriends out for Valentine's Day? You did not, Tim. You were gone.
Liar.
My husband raised his hand. Let me tell you, he actually went up north on Thursday to go ice fishing with a bunch of men. So you put your hand down. I love you. Anyways, do that again. How many? There was actually quite a few of you. Okay. How many that you raised your hand actually sang for your wife and your girlfriend? Did anyone sing to their wife or girlfriend? No?
No.
Oh, okay. Hayden?
Okay, so I didn't sing to my wife either. And so, we're going to sing to our wives and our girlfriends. Curtis, thank you for letting me use the ukulele. I'm not a ukulele player, but so just know that. But, babe, come sit here. Guys, we're going to sing Can't Help Falling in Love. Do you guys know that song? Guys, do we know that song? Wise men? Yeah, that one. So look at your significant other and sing to them. So babe, focus. Here we go. Wise men say, come on guys, only fools rush in, for I can't tell, falling in love with you. Shall I stay? Would it be a sin? For I can't tell, falling in like a river flows surely to the sea. Darling, so it goes. Some things were meant to be. And take my hand and take my whole life too. For I can't help falling in love with you. For I can't help falling in love with you. Yeah, there you go, guys.
Oh, it's so good. Really? I wonder why you're crying right now. That's so great, man. Hey, I saw the Clavers, though, man. Mike, you committed, dude. I'm giving you an air high five right now, babe. I was watching you. I'm like, that was magic. Magic Mike. I don't know if I should have said that in church, but hey, that's my nickname for you, dude. That was so good. Fellas, how many of you sang? I watched some of you committed and stopped. You got to be pot committed when you're doing that, man. So, well, hey, in the spirit of marriages and relationships and everything we're kind of talking about throughout this series, we're also kind of pushing for volunteers. We've heard that like couples in relationships that serve together, stay together. And so we've got, over there they are, Jeff and Steph Morris going to pop up. Give them a big hand. They are normally back at what we call the hub. And they give you information, get you directed, and do an incredible job at that. And so we just had a couple of questions. Because I've watched you guys serve together, and you're back there, and you seem like you're like seamless, man. You do a good job. You're getting along good. I know when Marie and I sometimes try to do projects, she'll go, I love you, but get out of here for a minute, you know. And you guys don't do that. At least I don't see you. Maybe you do, and you're really good at hiding it.
We have signals.
You have signals. Maybe that's what Marie and I need to do. So, but I just want to ask, is we're kind of really encouraging, because we've seen this seriously, like not just couples, but people, when they really say, when I got connected at this community is when I was serving and like volunteering and helping. That's when they were like shoulder to shoulder, right? When they were close and they really got connected. And so for you guys, what would you say that you've been shoulder to shoulder, you've been on mission together, and you're serving, and your communication skills seem stellar out there? Like, what is it for you guys, Steph, that's been like significant? Have you noticed anything at home different, or like how has this been a benefit to you guys from serving together?
Let's see, serving together. The hub is actually great for us to serve together because it's something that him and I can do together Monday through Friday between like work and kids and 8,000 snow days. We're apart a lot, so weekend time is kind of protected family time, so it's a great fit for us to kind of use our two different personality types and come together for one purpose. So I think anytime you're doing that, you're benefiting your marriage.
Is it like, do you feel like this is benefiting at home too? Like, do you feel like you're communicating better at home? Or you find yourself doing dishes together in the sink together? Or no, am I taking this too far? I'm overselling this, aren't I?
So yeah, well, I was just gonna say, it hasn't been life-changing at home or anything like that, but
you're killing my pitch here, man. Not gonna lie. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
But I will say that, for me, just I've kind of found a new respect for her, just seeing her in different situations, and not seeing her in those situations before, just serving at the hub and talking to different people and being in those social situations. So that's something that that I've found is kind of a new respect for her, to see her in that light. So
that's awesome. That actually was really well spoken. Holy cow, that's huge. You just got. I feel like a flow of bonus points. We're like just being deposited over here.
Two.
This is, you guys got to, if you're a couple in here, you're not serving together, serve together. So what I said, my second thing is, since you're doing this, because I've heard, because it's something powerful when you're on mission together, because you're encouraging people. I've watched you just take such great care of all of our incredible people that come here, whether it's helping them get to K-Kids, telling them about events, and it's made a difference. I know people have said that. And when you're on mission together and you're plugging away like that, are there any perks at home? Like, do you guys find yourself holding hands more, making out more, going on dates? I mean, is there anything like, earth-shattering, or just like, what would you say? I'm just giving you a hard time. What would you say would be some perks, like additional perks that we didn't even talk about?
Well, so something that I completely didn't expect, just from like jumping in and serving at Kensington, is the community of friends that we've made, which absolutely has helped us at home and everything, but not just jumping in and serving, but getting involved in small groups and everything. I've been a Christian my whole life. I grew up in a Christian home, went to church my whole life, but I've never really experienced the community of especially guy Christian friends that I've made here, just from serving and jumping into small groups and everything like that. So that's been a blessing that I completely did not expect, and I'm sure that's made our home life better. We've invited small groups into our home and everything, and that really helps us communicate and get ready for that and everything. So
that's great, man. I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Give them a big hand. The first service, when I had asked that, Stephanie said, yeah, all those things and above. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And that sold every guy. Every guy's like, kiss more, make out more, hold hands. Okay, I'm in. Where can I serve? What toilet's going to scrub? But seriously, if you want to get plugged in and connected, there's something about being shoulder to shoulder, especially if you serve together. It makes a huge difference. So, well, hey, do me a favor. Why don't you just stand up for a moment and say hi to somebody and say hello and keep moving on with their day.
Tell me something, girl. Are you happy in this modern world? Or do you need more? Is there something else you're searching for? I'm falling. In all the good times I find myself for change, and in the bad times I feel myself.
Tell me something, boy. Aren't you tired trying to fill that void? Or do you need more? Ain't it hard keeping it so hardcore? I'm falling. In all the good times I find myself longing for change, and in the bad times I fear myself. I'm off the deep end, watch as I dive in. I'll never meet the ground. Crash to the surface where they can't hurt us. We're far from the shallow now. In the shallow, in the shallow, in the the shallow. We're far from the shallow now.
If you've seen that movie, Star is Born, but Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga doing that together. But I love what the song is getting at. It's finding yourself in deep water, finding yourself almost to the point of drowning. Today we're talking about conflict. And that's where we're going in the series today, this week, number 2, of how do we do that? What do we do when we find ourselves in conflict? When we find ourselves away from the shallow and deep water, how do we handle that? And Dave and Ann would say the number one thing when they're talking about marriages and relationships, and they're speaking all around the country and even in their book, and really today in week number 2, what they're going to dive into, and we get to kind of lean in and listen, is conflict. And so if you've been in a relationship for more than like 5 minutes, you've probably felt conflict. Some of you, do me a favor, raise your hand if you've got courage. How many of you had conflict with your spouse or partner in the past 30 days? Right? What about in the past week? Keep your hands up. What about 30 minutes? You were just singing to her camp. Oh, that was them. Sorry, never mind. That was Alan and Kathy. So 30 minutes, right? Just 3 minutes maybe hanging out with your better half, and you've got conflict. And it's not if I get conflict, right? Not if that happens. It's going to happen. And if you think it won't, you're in la la land. I hate to break the news to you. It's going to. But it's how we respond to conflict, how we allow Jesus to step in the middle of that conflict that's going on, how we respond and do that really makes or breaks your relationship. It really does. It really sets you up for success or failure, because conflict's going to keep coming, right? People always think, oh, we've been so happy, we're going to have kids and it's going to get better. I got news for you. I'll just leave it alone at that, right? It gets more conflict, right? And like life, or like Stephanie said it well, snow day after snow day after snow day, doesn't it make you appreciate your teachers more? Conflict happens in home, happens in relationship, happens all around us. And how we respond is a big deal. So I want to encourage you with all my heart, lean in, okay? Because conflict's a big deal, and how you respond to it, how you learn to respond to it. Maybe you've been responding one way for a long time and it's not working out. Newsflash, maybe we need to for me to shift our paradigm. So lean in, listen to Dave and Ann as they share from their personal experience over almost 40 years, how they now deal with conflict and how it's made all the difference in the world for the relationship.
Okay, today let's talk about the number one thing that will determine the future and the health of your marriage.
Conflict.
Conflict. Everybody has conflict. Everybody at some time. And big things we get in big fights about. Sometimes just like little things like, here, Rob, toilet paper. Have you ever had a fight about toilet paper? Let me ask you, audience, I want to do a quick poll. How many of you say it should hang this way? Huh? Okay.
Or
how many of you say it should hang that way?
That was actually a fight we had when we got married, because I said it should go this way, and Dave said, no, it should go this way.
And you know what? She's right. It should go this way. Everybody else has said this. You're wrong. So there you go. So anyway, here's the thing. When it comes to conflict, we never knew this when we got married, but there's like styles or patterns that we have. Sometimes we see our parents, or it's just the way we come about conflict. And when Ann and I got married, we had no idea we had different styles. Let me give you
Mine was the right style.
Yeah, the right style, wrong style. No, I'm not kidding.
Here's number 1.
Number 1 is win. Some people, when a conflict happens, they want to win. They
bring in evidence.
They're good, fingerprints, eyewitness accounts.
And they're not afraid of conflict. They're like, let's go, let's do this.
Yeah, the second style or pattern would be yield or lose. And again, it's not lose, but they yield to the other person because to them, the relationship is more important than this specific conflict. So they often will give in for the sake of the relationship.
So the next one is the withdrawer. This person hates conflict. So they'll do one of 2 things. When conflict occurs, they'll either just walk out of the room, or else they'll disengage emotionally and not go at it.
They'll just shut down.
Right.
And then the last one is a resolver. And that's a person that will do whatever it takes, however long it takes, to get to resolution. Now, here's the thing. We get married. We have no idea what our styles are, our patterns are.
Right.
And if you've ever heard us before, you may not know what we are as well. But I ended up marrying a winner.
I just thought my parents did this. This is what you do. When you get in an argument, you talk about it, you fight about it, you could yell about it. Don't take it personally, let's just get into it. And so then we get in this fight, and I don't realize that Dave is I'm
a withdrawer. And of course, I don't know this, but you know, every relationship I was in, when conflict came, I just sort of left. I went and got another girlfriend. I was like, I'm not gonna deal with this. So we get married, we don't know this. We're married a couple months. We get in a fight at her parents' house. Everybody was gone, so we're alone. And we're in the family room, and I don't remember what the fight was about, but I didn't like it, so I got up and I started to walk out of the room.
And here's what he said when he walked out of the room. He goes, I don't need this. That's what he said. I don't need this, and he walks away. So I'm like, are you kidding me? And he just walks away. So I'm like, come back here and fight me like a man, you chicken.
That's exactly what she yells. I'm like in the kitchen by now. So I turn around, I walk up to the edge of the family room, and I just yell back, oh yeah? Well, bleep you. And I curse at her and I leave.
Well, I'm so mad. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I yell back, well, bleep, bleep you. Yeah. I don't even swear or curse. I don't even do that.
And either do I, by the way. This is a long time ago. But when she bleep, bleep back, I was like, oh, you sinner. And I'm like out of here. And I'm like going upstairs to the bedroom, and she's right behind me. Literally following me up the stairs. I sit down on this bed. She sits down right beside me.
And I put my hand on his leg, and I'm like, we need to talk about this. And he's like, what are you doing? Get out of here.
I mean, I was so uncomfortable with this situation. I don't think until that point in my life, I had really ever resolved a conflict in my life. And the reason I was so uncomfortable is I had a belief about conflict that I didn't know I had. And it was this: conflict is bad, you avoid it at all costs. Now, where'd that come from? Mom and Dad got divorced when I was 7 years old. Their conflicts were loud, they were shouting, there was alcohol involved, and I saw it end ugly. And so I had this built into me as like, conflicts can't be resolved, you just leave. So Anne's sitting there trying to resolve this conflict, and I'll tell you something, over the last 4 decades, I have a whole different perspective. Here's what I believe: conflict is actually good. Actually, it's medium. How you handle it can determine good in your life. Now think about what I did. When I stood in there and yelled at my wife in the kitchen, I didn't know it at the time, but I literally copied what I saw my dad do. Never wanting to be that guy, I was that guy. And so I remember early in our marriage, like, we've got to figure out this conflict thing, because this, I believe, I said it, is the #1 factor.
And what we would love for you to do, even today, maybe it's right now, but when you heard those 4 styles, identify, what am I, and what is my friend or my spouse or my boyfriend or my husband or my wife. Figure that out, and even your kids.
And so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna walk you through just some simple, practical steps that we've learned. There's more in the book. We can't go into all of them here, but we wanna walk through just a couple that help you become a person, not just a person that has conflict, but actually knows how to resolve conflict. Because I'm telling you, that ability to resolve conflict is the #1 factor, I believe this, that will determine the health and the future of your marriage.
And even if you're single, this is a great time to start figuring this out, even with your relationships with your friends. Like, how are you handling conflict, and get good at it.
And so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna tell you a story that took place in our life, and I want you to listen really close to this story, and there's a couple principles, actually 4 principles in this story that if you listen real close, you'll see them, that we actually didn't even know we're doing them, but we did, that were really helpful to resolve conflict. So here's the story. I was preaching one weekend at our church, Kensington, at one of our campuses, and I was getting ready to do our 3rd service. It was right between services. I'm standing out in this high school lobby by the door and watching people come in, and I see Ann pull in last minute, like a minute before the service starts, whips into this parking spot right by the front door, and comes walking up to me standing at the door.
Okay, there's his side. Now here's my side. So I have 3 teenagers at the time. I had 2 of them in the car with me. We're late because they're late getting up. And so I pull into the parking lot, super late, everybody's there, and I see this parking spot right by the front door. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus, for that spot. I whip in there. Dave's outside greeting people, which he normally doesn't do, but it's sunny out. And so I'm like, guys, look at Dad out here greeting everybody. I'm like, I get to Dave, I'm like, look at you greeting everybody. And he turns to me and he whispers in my ear as he's smiling.
I said, move the car. Move the car now.
And I say, no. I'm not moving the car because Jesus gave me that spot.
And I'm like, God did not give you that car. Give me the keys. And I throw them to Austin, who was, 15, 16. I'm like, move the
He
car.
was 16 because
I
he had
guess
to
he was old
drive.
enough. But I'm like, move the car. And Ann's like blocking
I
him.
block Austin. I'm like, no, you're not moving the car. God gave me the spot.
And the whole time I'm like doing this, and I'm like, hey, welcome to Kensington. Glad you're here. It's such a fake deal. But I was so mad that she parked there. And then I'm like, I got to go preach. You move the car. And I go in.
And I go into the very back row, right? I'm in the back row, and I have my arms crossed like this, and I'm leaning back, and I sit there, and I look at him up there preaching. I'm like, I don't even like the pastor of this church. Look at him up there.
And every time I preach and I look at her, I'm like smiling, and I see her, and I just give her this look. So then I get home after the service, and you ever have one of those fights where you're still going, like an hour or 2 hours
lingering.
later? Yeah, I walk in the door, and we're on. So I'm like, I cannot believe you parked there. And so here's what's going on. You're sitting there going, what's the big deal with her parking near the front door? So I'm going to tell you my side of the story, and then she can tell you the wrong side of the story. So here it is. And it's just the way our church works. When you're one of the founders of a church, you can set the values. And so 30 years ago, we decided one of our core values at Kensington, and we're just saying this is just our church, but we said this is our core value, is that the regular attenders and the members and the staff do not park in the best parking spots. We park at the back of the parking lot, sometimes across the street. We leave those spots for people who are trying to find Jesus, trying to find God. We leave the best spots for them.
They were already there.
No, they were not already there.
I was so late, they were already there.
So when I see my wife, the pastor's wife whips in to the spot reserved for somebody far from God, I'm upset. She's violating a core value. So when I walk home, I am right away like, I cannot believe you're doing this. This is crazy. She's standing in the kitchen. She's yelling back. And I'll never forget this. Our youngest son, Cody, was what, 13?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's sitting at the dinner table, and we're going at it. Now, we don't yell a lot in our fights anymore, but we were sort of pretty amped up then.
I was hot, really hot.
And Cody looks at me at one point, and he goes, hey, Dad, don't you and Mom travel around the country and, teach couples how to resolve conflict? I'm like, yeah. He's like, can you show me? I'm like, you sit there, young man, you watch. And we go at it. And we're just sort of going at it. Finally, it gets so heated, Ann leaves. She goes, I'm going upstairs. And as she left, I'm like, you should go upstairs. You know you're wrong.
And I wish I could tell you I went up there to pray. But you know what I did? I went upstairs to get ammunition. I need to get all my stuff together and make my point so that he hears me. So I come downstairs, and I make this grand entrance, and I'm like, here it is, just so you know. The fact is, I do everything around here while you're off preaching and doing your stuff with all of Kensington stuff. I am the one here. I'm mowing the yard. I'm doing the laundry. I'm cleaning. I'm cooking. I'm speaking too. I'm taking care of the yard. I'm taking care of the cars. I snowboard just to be with the guys, and I wakeboard just to be with the guys. So if there's one time that there's a parking spot by the front door, I should get to take it.
I'm guessing women are cheering right now. That sometimes happens at conferences. But I can tell you, she just said that at the edge of the kitchen. And I'm sitting at one end of the dinner table, and Cody's at the other end. And while she was doing that, it was pretty classic. Cody, my 13-year-old son, looks at me like man-to-man look, and he just gave me this look like, Dad, you're toast. Because she was making so many good points. By the way, you don't mow the yard. Anyway, she was making all these points, right? And I'm sitting there. And so she gets done with her little tirade. And it was about a 3-minute deal. And I looked at her, and I just said this. I said, so let me ask you a question. Do you feel like Kensington, that's our church, do you feel like Kensington is more important to me than you are?
And I just shook my head. Yes, that's it.
And so right then I knew, oh my gosh, this whole fight was never about a parking spot. It was about her feeling loved, feeling cherished, feeling like she's a priority in my life. And it was right there that I finally saw what this was all about. Now here's the amazing thing. Ann didn't know this. When she went upstairs, I had a few minutes. I was mad. She's leaving, and I'm all upset. And I had a few minutes to be quiet. And here's a principle we won't even talk about, but it's really important. While she was gone, I prayed.
I didn't.
I don't know what she was doing upstairs, but I just prayed. I was like, God, I'm missing something. I don't know what this is about. Can you help me hear what this is really about? So when then she came down and said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think this is about a parking spot. And so I realized. Now, I'll be honest. years ago, if she would have said that she didn't feel like she was a priority, I would have told her she was wrong. That's what I would have argued, that what you're feeling is wrong. And I'm telling you what, I'm telling you this, when your spouse or anybody tells you what they're feeling, that's true. That's their reality. So you deal with that.
That's a big point.
Yeah.
Because he would always say to me, that's not true. That's not what I feel. That's not true. What you're saying is not true. But I would say, that's what I feel. And he said, that doesn't matter. This is big, what Dave just said. Like, that is the reality.
And so we got the resolution that day, and I want to walk you through some steps. And they're all in the story you just heard. But here's a couple of phrases to remember when you get into conflict. And the first one is this. I think God says this to us. He says, shut up. Write this down if you're going to write something down. Shut up and listen. See, one of the first things we don't do in a conflict is all we want to do is make our point. We don't really want to listen very well, and we're almost not even listening to what they're saying. We're just listening for a break so we can hammer in our point. And I'm saying, shut up, zip your lip, and listen to what they're saying. Because here's the truth. There's a story behind the story, and if you don't listen, you'll never really know what it's really about.
Well, I love the book of James. This is Jesus' brother says this in the book of James, in James 1:19. He says, my dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to, listen to this, listen. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Like right there, if we would apply that part in conflict, we'd be so much better off.
And so you heard the story. Did I listen? No, not until Ann came down. I'd asked God to actually help me. And then when she said her thing, I was honestly listening close.
For the deeper issue.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, the story behind this story?
Yeah.
Is she's not feeling love. So I asked a simple question. I said, do you feel like the church is more important than you? And there it was. And now we can get to resolution, because now we both know, especially me, this is the issue. So the first step is shut up. The second step would be this, soft answer. Soft answer. What happens in a conflict? Escalation. One or both of you are escalating. If she's escalating or he's escalating and you match that, you're on, right? Somebody has to de-escalate, right?
This is so good, too, if you have kids, especially teenagers. If one of you escalates and the other goes up, it's a war. So if the other one doesn't escalate, but they come down, it changes everything.
And you're sitting there thinking, well, who makes the first move? You know, I'm right, she's wrong, she's right. Who makes the first move? Here's the answer. Whoever is most mature, make the first move. That just got you, right? It's like no, whoever's most mature. And so when somebody's escalating and you de-escalate, think about this. In Proverbs 15:1, it says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So if you go there, you're just going to escalate. It's going to spin out of control. But if one of you responds gently, softly, it changes everything. I remember one time I was pulling out of our subdivision, and there were all these cars coming, and I couldn't cut in, and finally there was a break, and I cut in as fast as I could, and I didn't realize I cut this guy off. And he did what so many people did. As I looked on the rearview mirror, he is screaming at me, yelling at me, making gestures, right? And I felt bad, but what could I do, right? Well, we pull up to a stoplight where he's going to be beside me. And so he pulls up beside me, and I'm sitting there, and I don't even want to look over. But I can see out on my periphery, he is like in his window screaming. I had my windows up. It was cold in Michigan. So finally, I just look over, and he is like, you idiot, you jerk, all this stuff, right? You ever been there? I've been there. So I'm sitting there. So I look at him, and I turn, and I just go, hey, my bad, sorry. Just mouthed the words. And he went from like, he's like, oh, hey, no problem. I mean, I was literally watching Proverbs 15:1, a soft answer, gentle answer turns away wrath. That is the same thing when it comes to your marriage or any conflict in your workplace, on a team with your kids. It's like somebody has to de-escalate. When I responded to Ann and said, do you feel like our church is more important? It was gentle, it was soft. What happened? Everything changed. But here's what happens in relationships. We sort of have a superiority complex. We think we're right, they're wrong, and so we don't come back gently, or we don't shut up, and we really come back with contempt. So marriage expert John Gottman says this about contempt. He says, contempt is the single best predictor of relationship breakdowns. Listen to this. Contempt is an attitude of superiority, speaking down to your partner through name calling or direct insults. Ever been there? Yeah, he says, the critic diagnoses the problem as a defect in their spouse and sees the relationships in terms of what's missing instead of focusing on the positive things about their spouse and their relationship.
Okay, I'm just gonna fess up here. This was totally me and I was like this a majority of the time in our relationship. Honestly, I did it all the time. And let me illustrate it like this. Let's say we have our relationship represented as plants. And if this plant is like, these are men, and I'm looking for my husband. And so I'm like, oh yeah, this one's really tall.
He's tall.
Yeah,
Looks
this
good.
one's really tall. And this one has lots of hair.
Overrated. Overrated.
But I look at this and I'm like, this is the one. Of all the men in the world, I choose you. You are the one. You're the man. You're amazing. You're getting all this positive energy and focus. I see all these wonderful things. But then we're married a while, and suddenly we notice some things, right? Like, whoa, I didn't notice before, but you have this brown leaf. You know, what is that? Oh, I know what that is. You used to be so romantic. You would wine and dine. We'd go out to dinner. And now all you want to do is have sex. I'm cutting that off. Like, we don't need that. And what's this one? Oh my gosh, yes, this one. Remember when you used to talk all the time after work and you would sit and tell me all about your day? Now you come home, you know what you do? You just watch ESPN all day long. What's that? And then we're like, oh my gosh, this plant has so many brown leaves, and it's my job to fix you because something's wrong with you. And so then we have to find something better. And this is it, right? Because we sit there like, oh my gosh, you don't talk, you don't listen, you don't lead, you don't pray, you don't spend time with the boys, you don't do all these things. Meet my needs. And then we're like, oh, what has happened? And you know what we do then? We're like, why can't you be more like them? And you guys, we cut, we destroy, we critique, and all of a sudden, this spouse, this beautiful spouse we married, is a stump of the person they used to be. There's nothing left, and we don't realize that this is what we have done.
And here's the truth. It isn't just wives doing this to husbands. We do it to our wives as well. It's this whole, it's contempt.
Yes.
It's like all we can see are brown leaves. All we do is critique, and we sort of destroy the man or the woman they once were.
And we think we're amazing, but we continually compare our spouse to someone else, and that's what social media does. We have kind of a mess now.
Can we go back to this? Yeah, we can keep going. So it's interesting when you think about responding to your spouse with a soft answer. It has to come from a heart that considers them extremely valuable. That's where it starts. I shut up. Why? Because what they have to say really matters. I respond gently with a soft answer. Why? Because who they are really matters. I'm not going to chop. I'm not going to focus on weakness. Although that's easy to do in a marriage because you see it all, right? But it's like, no, I want to focus on the positive and hear and listen and respond in a way that we can get to resolution.
And I think that's important to even analyze. Have I been doing that with my spouse or my friends or whatever? Am I looking at them thinking, wow, if you would just get that together, or if you were more like me, or I'm the better one at the relationship? I think it's really important that we think about that and we look at ourselves in that.
And so, you know, as we see things in our spouse that are brown leaves, do we speak the truth? Yes. We speak it in love. We speak it gently. We need to hear the truth as well. And then I tell you what, you have to get to a point. This is the key to resolution of a conflict, is you've got to get to forgiveness. So here's your principle. Shut up, soft answer, seek forgiveness, or grant forgiveness. It is the hardest thing to do, in a relationship.
And I think even for me on our 10-year anniversary, that was the hardest thing for me. Because my question was, Dave here, he's repenting. He's like, I'm going to change. I'm going to do it different. But if you have a history of this going on and on, like, do I continue to forgive them? And Jesus is saying, offer forgiveness. What does that look like? That means I no longer hold it against them. And here's the secret to that. You're taking this to God and saying, God, I can't do this on my own. I need you to give me the strength, the wisdom. I confess I need you, and God, I need to forgive them. And I did that for Dave, and I'm telling you, it set me free.
Well, here's the question. How can we forgive someone that doesn't deserve forgiveness?
Ooh, that's good.
And here's the answer. You and I have been forgiven, and we didn't deserve it. So again, that's vertical. I've received forgiveness from God for sin that I shouldn't be forgiven of, but he's given me grace. So now, he says, give that to your spouse. Is that easy? No. But is it possible? Yeah, out of the power of God in me. In fact,
it may not happen like overnight. Like it can take a while as you work on it.
Yeah, the Apostle Paul said it this way. He said, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other. How? Just as in Christ God forgave you. So it's this simple. Forgiven people, forgive people. Again, it's simple, doesn't mean it's easy. Forgiven people, forgive people. So even in that conflict you heard about, the parking spot, in our kitchen, it's like somehow you got to a place to forgive me. Why? Because I'll never yell at her again because I'll always be perfect. No, it was why? Because you've been forgiven by Christ. She extends that forgiveness to me. One of the hardest things you'll ever do. One of the biggest moments in my life is when I walked through the process of forgiving my dad. I held bitterness and resentment against him for almost 32 years because he walked out. And I was reading a book about forgiveness by Lewis Smedes called Forgive and Forget. He's the expert on forgiveness. Great, great stuff. And he said this, when you forgive someone, you set a prisoner free, only to discover you're the prisoner. It was like, boom. I had tried to lock my dad up. We tried to lock our spouse up. They won't have a relationship with us, thinking that they're the one that's the prisoner. We're the one that needs to be free. And the day I forgave my dad, I became free to be the man God had called me to be. And that literally changed everything in our marriage.
I was going to say, that unforgiveness affected our relationship so much. Dave had anger issues. It was spewing all over the place. But when he forgave his dad, I could see it. It really set him free to the point where, like, he seemed like a different man to me. So I think that's important for all of us to sit there and think, like, is there someone that I haven't forgiven that I need to?
And I would just end with this. If you walk through trying to resolve conflict, walking back through what we talked about today, shut up, soft answer, seek or grant forgiveness. The last one would be the most important one. And Ann already said it, but it is what vertical marriage is all about. And it's another S word, and it's this simple: surrender. Surrender to Jesus. There's no power in ourselves apart from a relationship with Christ. This vertical relationship determines everything horizontal. It really does. And that's what vertical marriage means. And so it's like, I got to get on my knees and surrender my heart, my life, my anger, my bitterness, my unforgiveness, where? Vertically to Christ, and ask him to do something I can't do. What's that? I can't change my heart. Only God and through God's power can that happen. And I need to ask God daily. This happens daily. I was going to say,
this isn't a one-time thing. This is a continual thing. It could be hourly.
Yeah, and some of you are holding on. Right now, you're sitting here watching this, and you're holding on to something that really was hard, that really, really hurt you, and you have legitimate reasons to hold on to it. And I'm saying, God wants to set you free. He really does. He set me free. I wish I could give you the freedom I have, but I tell you, Jesus can give you that freedom. It's real, but it starts with you saying, okay, I'm going to surrender or resurrender my life, our marriage, my bitterness to the Heavenly Father, and ask him to give me a power to do something I haven't been able to do. He can meet you right where you are and give you that power, and it will literally change your life, change your marriage. And here's the thing, we don't even think about it. It's going to change your legacy.
Yes.
The best thing I ever did for my 3 sons was, even before they were born, I forgave my dad, which set me free to be the man, the husband, the dad I need to be, not perfectly, but the dad I need to be, to change a legacy to the legacy that's going to honor God in this lifetime.
Love that. I feel fortunate. Have you guys been enjoying the series so far in vertical marriage? It's been great. I think so too, man. It's been powerful across all of our campuses, and It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, this is so awesome. I feel super privileged and just humbled to be able to be part of this, because even just yesterday, they've been on a lot of news sources. Just yesterday, it was the #1 trending story again on Fox News, this Dave and Ann stuff. And I think it's because it's a real struggle. Like, everybody wants to know this secret that they're talking about, because marriage is hard and relationships are hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, hey, as we're diving into this response, if the ushers could come forward and go and take the offering this time, that would be incredible. And we always say this, but we really mean it. If you're just checking us out, you're a guest, like, you don't need to feel obligated. But if you're all in with us, like, in advance, I want to tell you thank you. Many of you, almost 73%, give online. But when you give, you're giving, and not into programs, but people, and like life transformation, even things like we're seeing today. So we want to thank you so much. And you know, it's kind of cool too. We were texting yesterday, and we have this teaching team thread, and Dave Wilson was on there texting. He said, hey, there's an announcement we're going to kind of reveal Monday, and I want you guys to tell everybody, and all of our congregations and campuses around that. Family Life Radio, which is a really huge kind of Christian radio network, and they've got 1,300 stations globally, even nationally here. They reach 6 million people, and they've asked Dave and Ann to be the Family Life Radio talk show like host. And so they're still going to be here at Kensington and be lead teachers, but they're going to be doing that too. And isn't that incredible?
So cool.
And literally millions of people every week are going to be able to begin to hear this. So I just thought, how amazing, Yeah. Well, let's dig into it. And kind of conflict and how we respond to it makes all the difference in the world. And so yesterday, you and I were at the counter, and we're not pros, just a little disclaimer. So at the counter, and I'm like, we both watched the message, and we're writing down notes. I'm like, she's going to love these notes. And I'm telling her, I'm like, I got this great idea, babe. And she's like, uh-huh. And I'm like, well, maybe she's just nervous. She's stepping into it, She's giving me kind of a unique vibe. And I'm like, I got this super funny story. And I'm like, you remember that? And she's like, yeah, it's like not really funny at all. And I'm like, okay.
I was so frustrated.
I know you were, and I'm like, I bet other people think it's funny. I want to tell it. You're like, no, I wouldn't do it. It's not
that
funny.
Funny of a story. So a little backstory is that morning, Jeremiah, if you've ever heard him talk about the gym.
I'm still in hot water this whole thing.
Like, some guys golf or, I don't know, play video games or something. You like to go to the gym. Anyways, he went first at like 6 in the morning. Then it was my turn, so I go to the gym. And I'm driving home. The kids are at home with him, and he's like, hey, babe, I think I'm going to head back to the gym.
With Isaac. I was trying to help her out. With Isaac.
I'm going to help you out and take Isaac to the gym. Like, you check him in childcare. That's not. But anyways, the root of that, I was so we get home. We're at this.
You're giggling. She was ticked. Oh, there was no laughing going on.
It's Saturday afternoon, and you already went to the gym.
Tell him why you're so upset.
So anyways, we're home. He's trying to tell me about this conflict resolution talk we're gonna do, and I was annoyed with you, and it really came from a deeper place, because it's a Saturday afternoon. I want to spend time with our family. Today, our family is coming over for Noah's birthday party, so I need to deep clean the house. Yeah. We have 3 boys. We have all these like holes in our wall that we repaired.
I thought I was going to take our little one out of her hair so she could clean the whole house by herself. You're seeing where this took a wrong turn, right? Yeah.
So, anyways, it all unraveled. This has been for 2 months. There's these the spackling all over the walls. So he hasn't had time to paint. So, anyways, he didn't go to the gym.
No. And now I have a date.
And we resolved it.
We did. We were mad. I told her, I'm like, she got up and left the counter and said, get back here because we're going to teach people how to resolve conflict right now. I'm like, we can't even resolve conflict. And now you're right, I didn't make it to the gym.
We would like to teach you how to resolve conflict.
We did make up. We did make up. And it gets all of this thing called surrender we'll talk about in a second. But the bottom line, I was being selfish. In the moment, I'm looking up to God. I'm like, dude, Lord, I'm like, what a great way to teach us about conflict by giving us a big argument right before. I was being self-centered, ladies. Bottom line. Yeah, I totally was. I know. That's okay. It's okay. Clap it up, Rachel. So, I totally was. And I was like going to do her a favor, but it was really doing me a favor. And I was trying to pitch it. But so the truth is, though, like Dave said, the #1 thing is conflict, and how we respond to and handle conflict, honestly, is going to make or break. It almost broke us. Yes, make or break our relationships. And this
I think this is so relevant because not everybody here is married, or, I mean, every area of our relationships, in parenting, in marriage, in work, in family dynamics, like, conflict is all around us, so you can apply these points to any area.
Totally, and it's like, and like Maria's saying, it's like, you know, parenting, like when Ann was saying that with our oldest, we have a teenager who's not in here right now, but he'll get loud, and we'll get loud, and it's like, oh!
Yeah, it's like gas on a
And
fire.
I'm just thinking about that, de-escalating, like conflict, but look at like our geopolitical culture. I mean, I know we're not supposed to talk about politics, but do you think like Republicans and Democrats get along? Or anything at all? But stop and look at like race, you know what I mean? And stop and look at all the different things and even socioeconomic issues that are going on. It's a big deal. And so like we just want to go through these slides real quick. Like the first one.
Yeah, super quick. They already did an amazing job, but just a quick run through reminder is the shut up. For us, I'm the winner. I'm gonna point. I'm the lawyer. My dad used to say when I was little, like I had a case, and he's the resolver. So like,
it's not a good combination.
So both of us need to shut up and listen.
Sometimes
so
you tell me.
I love that scripture. Yeah. Everybody should put that on their fridge.
Oh, it's so good. Our soft answer. This is so true. I realize you tell me this all the time. Like the power you carry in our home, Jeremiah. Like if I'm like, oh, or arrogant or just frustrated, it changes the literal whole tone of our house. But if I can be calm and be like, okay, you seem tense, or this is going on, it changes everything.
And the forgiveness one, I loved how he talked about how that set him free, because I think the more we realize that we've been forgiven and God's grace on us, we're able to, like, when we are in conflict with others, receive it differently. We're not we're forgiven, so we have that grace to give back to others.
It's true. In our marriage, I'm telling you, when I've had moments where I've offended you and you didn't want to forgive me and I was asked for forgiveness, and at the end of the day, it was almost like you, like Dave was saying, you became the prisoner. You thought you were imprisoning me, but it was you. But this fourth one, the first three, I'm telling you, when I say they don't matter, I'm saying that humbly, but they don't matter without number 4, the surrender. This idea of surrender. And here's the deal. Conflict, we often think conflict is here. It's on the outside. We're arguing with each other. We have conflict with family, conflict with kids, conflict at work. And really, I want to share something that why Dave says, why do you have to surrender? Well, I'm not going to surrender to them. She's wrong, or he's wrong, or he wronged me, and I'm not surrendering to that. And Dave's saying it's really deeper than that. And Jesus has this incredible story. It's in John 8. John captures this moment where there's a woman, and she's caught in adultery. And she's clearly wrong for what she did. And this religious group that wants to like win the argument. They want to win the conflict. And they bring her out, and they're sitting there, and they're like, Jesus, look what she did. And they're arguing, and they're overpowering, and she's sitting there all ashamed, and Jesus doesn't say anything. He follows this pattern. He shuts up, and he's quiet, and he kneels down, and everybody begins to get quiet. And it's amazing watching what he's doing here. He gets in the center of this. What Dave's saying, Jesus comes in the center, and all of a sudden, he stands up, and everyone's quiet, and he gives a soft answer. He says, you know what? You're right. She's wrong. She was wrong. And there's times where I'm wrong or Maria's wrong, and we got this conflict, and we're trying to resolve it. And Jesus says this amazing statement, though. He goes to this forgiveness, this third step. And he says, you know what? He says, if any of you are without sin, if any of you have never messed up, you've never made a mistake, you've never goofed anybody over, if you've never done that, then throw the stone. And you can almost hear like a pin drop in this story. And they begin to drop these stones. They had this conflict wanting to win, and they just dropped the stones at the feet of Jesus. It says the oldest to the youngest, and they're dropping them, and they all go away. And Jesus says, hey, where's your accusers? The lady says, they're gone. He says, yeah, that's how it works. And Jesus, who surrendered his own life for us, is saying, if you'd surrender to my feet, I'll get rid of the conflict. He has the power. I'm telling you, we believe this so much. It's been revolutionary in your life.
I just love that visual in that story of that like open-handed surrender, because we so often function in this like, you know, that tension, the anger, the hurt, the bitter, whatever, in your marriage, or that can happen often, the conflict. In releasing that in like open-handedness is such a place of, I kind of go back to the identity that we always talk about. Because if I'm living in this identity of like, I'm not good enough, I'm not valuable, I'm rejected, then I can't even implement those points or have conflict successfully. So it really comes back to like what God, surrendering those lies that the enemy is saying about me. I know for me, like in working through this, and I go back in history, maybe some lies that I believed was rejection, like I felt rejected. So that might be a trigger. And I might feel like something that is done to me as a friend or a spouse, I feel rejected. But instead of like believing those lies and living in that, surrendering the lies of the enemy and believing who God says that I am.
Yeah.
He says I am valuable. He says you are valuable. I love that song that we sing at the end where he says that about you. So releasing that surrender and also surrendering our emotions, like not letting those hurt feelings run us all the time.
No, you've been doing this, and it's been so, even yesterday, we literally, like, we can't get on stage and talk about conflict. And we both prayed, and I'm telling you, we had to take some time, and like, it's amazing how Jesus does this. And I just know for me, honestly, it's been a surrendering. It really has been surrendering. I think sometimes we all desire love. I desire respect. Every human being desires power. We have this power struggle. And Jesus saying, just surrender. Just surrender. And I found myself literally, I just want to show you this posture where it's like, even I remember like 3.5, 4 years ago in the corner of our bed, middle of the night, we had conflict. I'm telling you guys, we had major conflict. And when I could shut up all I want and soft answer all I want, and I could seek forgiveness, and it wasn't happening at all. And I just remember asking Jesus, I'm like, I need you. I surrender to you. I can't figure this out. I'm not strong enough. I don't know what to do. And I really am convinced it was in those moments in the middle of the night in our bedroom that Jesus said, great, Jeremiah, finally get out of the way so I can get in. And he takes conflict and he exchanges it for peace. And we're at the, I know I'm getting passionate about this because it's rescued our marriage. Like Jesus rescued our marriage. Jesus took all this conflict, not that we don't have it anymore, but he showed us how to exchange it every time, surrender to him for peace. We were at the Wild Game dinner last night, and Steve Andrews is speaking. He did a great job. And at the end, he asked this question. He's like, what kind of life, honestly, do you want to have? What kind of life do you want to live? What kind of legacy do you want to have? And I realized, I'm like, what kind of relationships, what kind of marriages do we want to have? Because the marriages we have now, what we're willing to surrender, our pride, surrender, you know what I mean, the conflict, the junk that we have, it's going to not just change our marriage for the better, it's going, our kids and our grandkids and our community. I'm convinced of this. Jesus builds and wants to build great relationships and great marriages and great families and great communities and great church. He wants to do this. But at first comes the surrendering. And Steve did this. He goes, hey, he's talking. He goes, raise your hand if you want a great life. And nobody did. And he goes, hey, I'm talking to you. Raise your hand. And everyone does. But I want to ask that same challenge. Here's what I know. If we don't challenge you, if it doesn't challenge me, it won't change me. If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. And this is Jesus comes in. He's this great disruptor, great lover of humanity, but a great disruptor too. And he invites us to like have peace and not conflict. And I just want to encourage you, just raise your hand. Do you want to have a great relationship or a great marriage, honestly, in this place? Then that means this. When you're raising your hand, you're saying, well, yeah, obviously. Then you raising your hand is saying, that means I'm willing to. You're saying it. You didn't realize you're saying it. I'm willing to surrender the things that are causing conflict. I'm willing to surrender that. So we just want to pray, honestly, pray for our marriage, because I'm still in hot water a little bit about this whole gym thing and pain. I'm kidding.
Love the gym.
Yeah, maybe. I'm in hot water still. And but we want to pray for your marriages and your relationships and the future marriages of the kids that are in K-Kids. And it's just crazy, right, to think about. Like, we want God to do a generational work. And so we just want to pray for you now. And I want to encourage you, if there's something you're holding on to and you've not let it go, or guys or fellas, there's something you're holding on to and it's getting in the middle of your family, surrender it and let it go. We're really going to pray a prayer of surrender. Jesus, we ask you with all of our hearts, Lord, please, Father, I pray that you would encourage us to surrender the conflict to you. You are the great peacemaker. You exchange peace and power and grace and joy and love for the conflict we have. And the conflict steals our joy. It steals our peace, but you bring it back. And even as we sing this next song, God, about peace, let us know that it's you. If we surrender our heart and our souls to you, you step in and you say, thank you. Now I can get in there and bring peace and power. May you bless in your name. Amen.
you guys to stand.
I'm not gonna be afraid, 'cause these waves are only waves. I'm not gonna be afraid. I'm not gonna be afraid. I'm not gonna fear the storm. You are greater than its roar. I'm not gonna fear the storm. Oh, I'm not gonna fear it all. Peace be still, say the word and I will set my feet upon the sea till I'm dancing in the deep. Oh, peace be still, you are here, so it is well. Even when my eyes can't see, I will trust the voice that speaks. Peace, peace over me. Oh, Jesus, yeah, your peace is gone. Let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Let faith rise up, oh heart, believe it. Let faith rise up in me. Let faith rise up, oh heart, believe it. Let faith rise up in me. So let faith rise up, oh heart, believe it. Let faith rise up in me. Peace be still, say the word and I will set my feet upon the sea till I'm dancing in the deep. Lord, peace be still, you are here, so it is well. Even when my eyes can't see, I will trust the voice that speaks. Say peace, peace over me. Sing it out. Peace, peace over me.
Jesus, we thank you that in the midst of the chaos and in the storms of relationships, of our marriages, of our daily lives, God, that you bring peace, that you're the anchor that we can hold on to, knowing that you'll swoop down, you'll pick us up, and you'll pull us from the deepest, darkest places, God. We thank you and we love you. Amen. Amazing love that welcomes me, the kindness of mercy that bought with blood wholeheartedly my soul undeserving. Oh God, you're so good. God, you're so good.
brings suffering, Lord, I will remember what Calvary has bought for me, both now and forever. God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. Yes, God, you're so good. You're so good to me. Sing, oh God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. Yes, God, you're so good. You're so good to me. Lift your voice. Oh God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. Yes, God, you're so good. You're so good to me. Oh God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. Yes, God, you're so good. You're so good to me. I am blessed, I am called, I am healed, I am whole, I am saved in Jesus' name. Highly favored, anointed, filled with your power, full of glory, Jesus' name. Yes, God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. Yes, God, you're so good. You're so good to me.
I love that, being reminded of the goodness of God. I'm telling you, since we've been open for 3.5 years, we've watched Him transform marriages and families. I'm so excited. I'm telling you, in the past just even 3 or 4 months, we've seen God explode and do great things in our kids' ministry, marriage ministry. By the way, we have a great marriage ministry. If you need mentoring, we can help. Let us know. We're just excited for the future as God continues to give increase. And in fact, the next couple months, we're excited to continue to give you updates about what it will look like around this place for us to get in 24/7 permanent digs. And that sound kind of exciting. And just great stuff going on. So we love you. Hope you have an incredible day. God bless you. And again, if we can be a help at all, let us know. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.